Well, it's no secret that Arizona ranks low in education, from teacher pay to funding to test scores. And the I-Team is trying to figure out why. I-Team reporter Erica Stapleton is digging into data and found that all major school districts in Maricopa County struggle with kids who aren't reading or doing math at grade level.
When she first moved to Arizona a few years ago,
We were used to like a 20-to-1 ratio, where here there's closer to 30, sometimes over 30 kids with one teacher.
Nicole Ferruda was well aware of the reputation.
Low test scores, rankings of schools.
Year after year, Arizona ranks among the lowest of states in education, teacher pay, student spending, and test scores.
Things need to change, and our kids deserve a better future.
The I-Team wanted to get a better understanding of why this is, so we started with the data. For this story, we focused on the largest school districts in Maricopa County, who had at least 1,000 kids take 4th or 8th grade reading or math assessments last year. Our analysis found that in 2024, more than half of students in each district were not proficient in at least one of those categories. And the elephant in the classroom: we can't compare these scores to private schools because they aren't required to take state testing or submit scores.
I feel like the way that they're teaching it might hinder their proficiency level.
Nicole is a mom of 2, with one child in 4th grade in the Peoria School District and another child in 7th grade at a charter school. She said both her kids excel in reading, but math is another story.
Both of them have struggled in math. I don't understand why they transition from one lesson to the next without having the child master the first lesson. I'm not an educator, I don't know, but I feel like it's doing a disservice to the child.
Erica joins us now for the backstory. And Erica, that's only part of your full investigation. You know, I feel like I can relate a lot to that mom as a mom of twin 11-year-olds. You know, my kids go to public schools and it's difficult. She talked about the way they're teaching math, for instance. And my husband and I can totally relate to that, because what we grew up, the method of how we learn math, is completely different than how our kids are learning math. And that's another main factor in this equation.
Of course, and that's exactly something Nicole, the parent we just spoke to, that's exactly what she said. She said, you know, they come home, it's totally different. I have to look it up, but ultimately, it's really frustrating, and that creates, you know, challenges when it comes to moving on in those lessons. But I'll point out too, Tram, that we found Nicole through a survey we put out. We asked parents and educators to respond, what challenges they might be seeing. And it was really interesting because we had some people respond and say, this isn't a problem for my kids. I don't see why you're doing a story here. But then we had people say the way things are being taught. Funding is an issue. COVID was an issue. Increased screen time. Also, there's behavioral changes. There's cultural changes between generations. So I think there's a whole bunch of factors. Data can only show us so much, but it was really helpful in this instance to hear from all the different players involved in this, you know, the education spectrum here.
Yeah, and you know, you think about these teachers, and I feel like they're under even more pressure nowadays than when we were growing up, right? And you know, again, you mentioned the screen time. That's a big factor too. The attention span, really, you know, and again, I also think that has a little bit to do with the screen time as well. It's so hard, the amount of pressure on these teachers who are not getting paid as much as they should.
No, and that's a topic that came up. It goes into that funding category. And, you know, Nicole, the mom we talked to, she mentioned it right at the beginning. She said she moved here from the East Coast, and first thing she noticed was that class sizes were bigger in her students' particular districts. And that's a problem. That makes it harder for teachers to be able to adequately teach. And also, it's not the best experience for the students either when they're fighting for attention and maybe not having their individual needs addressed in a manner that maybe could be if there was, you know, a teacher's assistant involved as well. But we also know, we've seen it here in Arizona, that districts are not just struggling with teachers, it's funding to keep their schools open. We've done stories over the past few months that some schools aren't staying open. It's a really challenging time in education. And again, not everybody is experiencing some of these shortfalls or differences, but I think our reporting has shown that there are really gaps when it comes to different experiences that families are facing.
Yeah, and I just feel like right now we're experiencing a wave of school closures, sadly. What do you have coming up at 6?
Well, of course, we're telling you here's all the reasons why people think this may be a problem. So coming up at 6 tonight, we're looking at what the state is doing to really try to bump up test scores. And then we also got some feedback as to whether or not they really matter. There might be a bigger picture here in terms of our kids actually graduating. Are they prepared for the real world? So we're really kind of continuing this conversation and looking at what to do with these test scores. It's data we have, and how are people responding to it?
Right. So many factors involved, and of course the domino effect because of it.
Absolutely.
Erica, good stuff. Thank you so much. 12 News, of course, is dedicated to covering education in the state of Arizona. For continuing coverage on the impact of education in our state, download 12 Plus for free right now on your Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku devices. Well, the excitement for